Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lawfully Chaotic, episode 8. We were we were practically having a whole show behind the scenes before we even started because we're so excited for our guest tonight. I was like, nope, 8 o'clock, go. So anyway, thank you for joining us.
Brian's a real taskmaster that
I
way.
am, yeah. 3 Miles, thanks for hopping into chat. You once again win the award for first into chat. Thank you to those who are joining us. Thank you to those who are watching VOD after the fact. We have a very, very special guest with us tonight, Dragon Painter 468, Andy Warnken, who does some fantastic freaking painting work and printing. And we're going to showcase that tonight. We are all like super excited because if you look behind Andy above the printer, there's a little preview of what we're going to see later. Yeah, that really weird looking dog up there. Anyway, welcome. Announcements. Sharon, you got it. Oh, I'm sorry. As usual, my fantastic co-hosts are with me. Sharon, the fabulous Berrybot, and
Hello.
Jason, the storyteller of TTRPG Academy. Sharon, you got any announcements this week?
None this week, but I will give you the weather forecast for Southern California. We are going to be experiencing some rain this weekend.
Any more snow?
A lot of rain.
Yeah.
What's crazy is it's 72 degrees today in California. Tomorrow it's going to be 54.
You know what's crazy? Is LA has gotten more fucking snow this year than Chicago. That's
Yeah.
LA's gotten more snow than like most of the other parts of the country except for Colorado.
No joke.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Straight up weird.
Awesome. Jason, any announcements?
Yeah, so the City Adventure series Monday through Friday is going to start posting end of March. So 5 new tables will be opening up for the 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. spot. I'm also writing up a Tuesday night table, a Thursday night table, and a Friday night table, bringing me to 16 tables, hopefully by the end of April. I'm a bit of a
going for the record.
So,
huh?
Yep.
Awesome. Excellent.
And what about you, Brian?
I got one announcement here. If you want to check out, I have my first collaboration with Brian Gomez, the Bearded Nerd, which is his character background prompt worksheet that is now up on the shop. It is a digital download for $1.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
Bearded Nerd? He sounds familiar.
Yeah,
it was
I
like
know.
we've had him on before or something.
Yeah. Another bearded, bald nerd guy, you know. So check that out. You can find that in the shop at PlayRPG&Co.com. Otherwise, that's about all I got for announcements. Other than Andy, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to let Sharon take the lead on this as we get introduced to you and what you're going to show us tonight.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Lawfully Chaotic Special Edition with Andy Warnken, aka the Dragon Painter 468. Hiya, Andy.
How's it going?
So to kick things off, we want to get to know you. So where are you from and how did you get started with mini painting?
So I'm from Boulder, Colorado. And I started during the pandemic. I was furloughed for 3 months from work.
Oh, wow.
And I was a workaholic and I needed something to do for the 2 weeks we were going to be shut down for. And yeah, I was told 2 weeks, and then in June they were like, "Hey, do you want to come back?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
And you said, "No, I got too much shit to paint."
Was that June 2021 they asked you to come back, or
No, it was June 2020. So it was just it was about 3.5 months of not working, and so I needed something to do, and a couple friends of mine that I was playing D&D with, and just friends in general with, were like, "You should learn how to paint minis," because I started collecting some of the unpainted WizKids minis, and so I was like, "All right, cool." So I bought some paint sets and didn't really know what to do and
wait a
started
minute.
watching.
So you're telling me that your work, you started painting like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years on Tuesday next week.
Wow.
See, that's that undiscovered self skill,
Yeah.
right? That self talent.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the interesting kind of like narratives that have come out of this, the COVID time, the time period we're all in COVID. I
Yep.
think forced us all to be self-reflective and forced us all to rediscover or discover things that we didn't even know about ourselves. I think that's an amazing story. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your day job? What's your background?
So I'm a chef. I'm one of the kitchen leads at Avery Brewing Company here in Boulder.
Nice.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
really
There's
so-
definitely a creativeness in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, given your talent with painting, I expected you to say like graphic designer or illustrator or something like that.
No.
That's pretty fucking amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, we were shut down. We shut down March 13th of 2020, and I think March 18th was when I got the paint sets that I purchased on Amazon before, Amazon was like, "Hey, we can only deliver so many times a day."
What do you mean 10 packages is your limit?
Yeah. So
Just the other day, 2 days ago, I had to buy a new bathroom scale. I bought a bathroom scale. They delivered it that day. Tried it out. I'm like, nah, I don't like this. I got to get another one. Ordered another one. They had that one there 2 hours later. So I have a deal with my Amazon driver also. He just,
yeah.
cut in for dinner.
So right. So I had bought some paints. I had no idea what I was doing. I found Jason Azevedo from Realmsmith. He was doing WizKids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he was doing
wow.
the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures tutorials.
Yeah.
So I started buying some of those same models that he was painting and found all the paints that he was using because I'd watched the VODs after he had done the live ones. And so then I started painting along and kind of following how he was doing it and learning a little more. And then I kind of stopped following his tutorials and just tried using the same skills that I learned from that on my own.
How did you, with the tutorials, how'd that work for you? How did that get you going?
That's actually really cool. I
Yeah.
never knew that there was channels like that. I mean,
Yeah.
my poor first mini.
Well, like I've always thought about just sitting in front of a tutorial and trying to see if I could relearn and start over.
Yeah.
How did your brain process a tutorial? How'd that go?
For me, I'm very much if you show me how to do something, I'll learn it pretty quickly. And so it was nice just to know that there was somebody out there, because I was like, man, I don't know how to do this, and I can show you my first mini that I painted. And
Yes, please.
Yes.
You can tell that it's a first time paint
I was
job.
going to say, back to your day job. You need to also become a pastry chef and make wedding cakes with D&D miniatures.
I would love to. I actually have a friend.
And I'm
of mine.
not kidding. Like
Yeah.
you could, like Joe Manganiello I could see paying $30,000 for like a D&D cake. Like
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like a tower wedding cake, but it looks like a tower with a dragon on it.
Yeah.
So this was my first mini.
Oh, no way.
So there's not a whole lot of, like depth and color and
It's very
and
cool.
everything. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So okay. That's a lie. That's my first big mini. Big mini. That was probably like my second or third mini that I painted.
Come on, Mark, be proud.
Thank you, Colin. For
Over
that.
here, we're just gonna put a little hate and anger in the teeth, and we're gonna put little bits of stringy meat and muscle hanging from the teeth, and yes, we're gonna play in our happy space.
Bondi sculpted minis. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd be all over that.
So I do have some friends at work who are getting married next year, and I had told them told them that I wanted to paint their wedding topper, and so we're going to make Hero Forge minis that I'll be printing and they'll be putting on their cake.
That is absolutely fantastic. Make sure you charge them thousands of dollars for that.
I am totally doing it for free because they are really good friends.
Charge them out the ass.
So, but
That
yes,
is awesome.
That is something that I have thought about doing, at least just for fun, nothing crazy full long term or anything. But
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But yeah, so then after about a year, 6 months or so of painting, I ended up meeting a really, really good friend of mine now. His name is Steve Smith. Instagram, he's SL Smith Mini Painting. He was a full-time mini painter for a while. He's since not doing that anymore, unfortunately, but life happens. So, and he helped teach me a lot more of the different techniques and everything than what I was doing. And if you scroll through my Instagram feed, you can kind of see where I started, and then once I met Steve, and then to where I am now of using all of the different techniques he has taught me over the years. So
look at those minis.
Wow.
And then the Tarrasque is in here, right?
Yes.
Oh, this is that were dragon.
Yes, that's the hyena dragon. I used it as a Baylor. I was running Descent into Avernus, and all my friends that are in my group were like, we kill everything you throw at us, and your fights aren't easy. And I was like, okay, challenge accepted. Here you go. So that was another Tiamat that I've painted. I've done. This will be my 10th Tiamat when I finish the one that's up here.
That's a lot of heads.
Now, are you doing pro painting then for people that commission you at this point?
I regular? I will if people commission me. I haven't had any commission works in a while.
Let's talk about your branding and promotion offline after the show.
Yeah, Brian can definitely help you with that because this is some amazing.
Yeah, my Deadpool bus.
Yep.
So that was actually a friend of mine printed it. He wanted it for himself, and I told him that I was keeping it because I just liked it too much. He's like, okay, fine. So
well, it's funny when Brian showed the Beholder, because when the Beholder Nolzars came out, I was so impressed with the sculpt. It's rare that miniature companies come out with sculpts that are just so popular that you can't even get them off the shelf anymore. So I've got I've got 9 pro painted Beholders up on the shelf, So it's
I bought one to paint. I've got one unpainted,
and I just love this sculpt. This is one of the best sculpts that they've done.
That's my friend Juan. He doesn't count as a paid customer.
Oh, okay. Well,
he's just
double, man.
He's here for moral support.
It's funny because I was also going to ask you, what kind of paints do you use? What companies' miniatures do you like? It's funny because I find that with WizKids, their monsters are really great. Yes. Anything that's a little bit larger are really great. Their character, the character minis.
Yes.
Fucking hate them.
Yep.
I hate them. They look great before you paint them, and I don't care how good of a painter you are. Once you put paint on them, they look horrendous.
Yes. So that in part is due to the fact that they run them through an assembly line with primer, and the primer guns just spray the ever-living crap out of them.
Yep.
And so that covers up a whole lot of detail, and then it's like, okay, cool.
Right, and then as soon as you put a second coat on, which is the paint, it's
you can't see anything anymore.
Barry, you had a favorite you were about to point out. Which one?
Yes, it was the Tarrasque.
Where's the Tarrasque?
Scroll down a little more.
Tell me when.
All of them are really awesome, but
right there, it's right under the ogre. Yep.
Is that the big one?
Yeah, so that's a 200% Tarrasque printout. So I had the same people that printed this Tiamat here that we'll get to later. They printed that out for me. So on a tabletop, it is a correct scaled gargantuan sized monster.
That's awesome.
The base is essentially playable as
Oh,
a
interesting.
piece of terrain.
Interesting that you say that because okay, you may be familiar with this, but this here,
Yeah.
this is my son. So this is the mini for the Simon game Cthulhu Death May Die, and
Yep.
this base is actually the play surface for
Oh, okay.
like the final chapter of this game.
Okay.
And one day I'm going to work up the courage to actually start painting this fucking thing.
When you do, please send me all of the pictures because
you absolutely.
I painted the Reaper Bones Cthulhu for a friend of mine.
I have two. The little one.
No, well, he's little. It's in my Instagram feed.
Okay. Oh,
if you go to it, yeah. It's one of the earlier paintings.
That's one of my favorite Cthulhu's right there.
Yeah, the spawn.
That, yeah.
Yep, the star spawn.
Yep.
I got a Cthulhu too.
Hey, that's not fair. I got that Cthulhu.
I
got that Cthulhu too, Bear.
Oh, here he is. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. So that was at the time the biggest model I've ever painted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know, 10 inches tall.
So
yeah, it's a decent, and that was before I even bought an airbrush. So that was done with all brushwork.
No.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Oh, so when did you start with an airbrush?
It was right when I was painting Demogorgon. So if you keep scrolling up a little bit, that Demogorgon there, yep, that green one. So that's the work in progress picture.
Oh, I can see. Yeah, I can see the airbrush. What airbrush do you use?
So right now I use an Iwata Eclipse airbrush. I want to upgrade. I would like to upgrade and get the Harder and Steenbeck, but it's also like $300. So
yeah,
that's not happening anytime soon.
I just recently did purchase their. There's a special Ukraine edition of their Infinity.
Yeah.
And I bought one of those. And I started using it. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah. I've actually been told that people who struggle with painting may actually find airbrushing easier. What are your thoughts, Andy?
To an extent.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier if you've done more brush work and you've painted and you can kind of know how to work it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Placing highlights and everything is a lot easier with the airbrush because then you can go back with a regular brush and kind of correct those highlights and fine tune them, which is what I'm getting at with this model here. Is now it's going to be all brush work because I can't do an airbrush anymore on it. So it's going to take a lot longer.
I think there's also I think the thing with airbrushes is just learning how to use the airbrush itself, mixing the paint, getting consistency. Once you get that down, then it's fantastic for, like you said, for highlights and shades and stuff. But it takes a bit to get a feel for the brush.
Yeah, that's for sure. So when I got one of the master brushes box set combos from Amazon, where it was the airbrush, a compressor, and then some airbrush paint.
Yeah.
The first day I spent just playing and trying to figure out, okay, if I go closer, farther away, this is what it does. How thin I make the paint, just spraying it on paper towels. I didn't even touch a mini.
Yep.
And then I had some WizKids minis, and I was like, all right, well, these I don't really care if I mess up or anything. They're just WizKids minis. And so then I painted the gorilla or giant ape from Nolzur's with my airbrush, essentially, and then just touched up some of it with a brush. But, yep, that one right there.
That's awesome.
So
I have that one, so I know.
So do I.
But I tend to, for the longest time, because I don't like to paint, I buy all the collectible kits, the bricks, and a lot of the pre-painted ones, or I would commission locals near me in Southern California, to do the painting for me, because I love to have really beautiful minis on the table to inspire the players and to inspire play and to help with the immersion. But do you ever feel like it's overwhelmingly becoming work versus a relaxing thing, or how do you balance that out?
It did last year for me, and I ended up taking 6 months off and not painting. And now I'm painting some more stuff, and I'm very much happy, a lot happier painting, and I don't feel like
insane.
I don't feel like I have to just paint to post for Instagram, which was what I was doing for a long time. Now I paint, and if it looks good enough, I'll throw it up on Instagram. Otherwise, I don't show anything off anymore. So
that rock on that model
is this
fantastic.
spray paint?
No, I used I did most of it with my airbrush.
Yeah.
But not, it's all
Airbrush, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I did a lot of it with my airbrush. I did probably 90% of it with a traditional brush.
Wow.
Just because it is.
I mean, that's Golden Demon quality, and that's only after 3 years of that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what gets me. I mean,
Wow.
I consider myself a pretty good mini painter, but I've been painting for 30 years or more, probably 35 years. The fact that you are at this level after 3 years is quite frankly astounding.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Jason's right. This is award-winning work.
Yeah, that's Golden Demon work for sure. Especially the aesthetics of the base blending up into the model.
Yeah.
And to EMP Studios' point, to Cesare's point, it almost looks like a CG render. Like it feels like I'm staring at a Blender screen right now. It's crazy.
My friend Juan can attest to this. I always say that I'm just above average when it comes to paintings. So.
No, you are master level, and no joke. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I think folks with talents and skills tend to do that to themselves often.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like a very good dungeon master, but I've been told by people I'm really good, but I still feel like after 40 years, I still haven't improved it to the level that I'd like to get to.
Right.
And I think for those of us that focus on what we thought our talents were, it's, it becomes this just kind of ongoing self-fulfilling prophecy of, we just feel like we could always do better.
Yeah.
I mean, any artist or creative is their own worst critic.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing too is I hang out with a lot of people who are also very, very talented painters. So I see all of their stuff and I'm like, man, theirs is way better than mine. And then, so and my Instagram feed is filled with, Sergio Calvo and Angel Heraldez. And
I was just going to say, Angel.
Angel.
One of my favorites.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He actually, all of the leather stuff that I've been doing lately on models has all been a recipe of his from the Vallejo paint sets. So, and like doing his process, I'm like, man, this is the best leather that I can do. Like, it's amazing. So
he's a great guy. I've actually DM'd him a couple times just for advice, and he's like, he's like, he's a really nice guy.
Cesare brings up a really good question. What makes you feel like theirs is better than yours? How do you like decompose their work and then compare your work in your mind when you think about that?
Decompose or deconstruct?
Sorry, deconstruct.
Well, if you looked at SL Smith Mini Paintings Instagram feed and see all of his stuff, I mean, his work is amazing. There's a reason he's in that box set of the Professional Painted Beholders with Ian from Iron Tusk, who paints for Critical Role.
But I wonder, what I wonder is hey, thanks, Cesare. But what I wonder is, someone like me who has no aesthetic for painting, I cannot tell the difference between yours and 20 other pro painters, other than the fact they all look amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like creators look at it differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I see all of
That
their
is
stuff,
awesome.
and it's just, I think that their level of contrast and, having the very dark shadows with the really nice bright highlights, I think that definitely helps make things look a lot better.
I mean, look at the base on that. Look at the
Yeah,
lava.
I was
Yeah,
just
like,
going to say the two things that I find most amazing that I still not struggle, but I still work at very hard is blending with a brush.
Yep.
And OSL, which is object source lighting, which
Yep.
is this. I mean, that is just.
I occasionally can get OSL to turn out really, really well.
It's tough.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where it just doesn't turn out right.
Yeah, that's where an airbrush really, really comes in handy.
Yes.
What's an OSL?
It's object source lighting. So it's basically it's making something look like it is reflecting the light. Here, hold on.
Yeah, so if
Let
you
me
go
go back to
if you were to get like, yes, that one for sure.
So is it
You
like a
see-
style of painting?
No. Well,
to an extent.
to an extent. You see on the base, Sharon, like on the rocks, there's just a very slight red glow on the rock next to the lava.
Yeah.
That's OSL. So it's like if you're carrying a lantern, a green light lantern, the green you would have a green tinge on you where it's
Oh.
shining on you. And if it's done right, it's truly amazing.
Well, I think that goes to Chesaree's point about it looking like a CG render, right? The way the lighting can do that on a model. It's always just amazing. Amazing.
I did that with the Styx Ferryman guys. They have a little lantern in the front of their ship. I actually printed them at 75mm scale so I could use them on the board for my players to fit in the boat while they traveled down the Styx.
That's
awesome.
So that was really cool, and I painted them 2 different colors so that way I could, they were like, okay, I'm going to get in the green boat and I'm going to get in the orange boat.
Yeah.
So
that's
have you dabbled in any kind of 3D rendering software yet to develop your own concept of minis?
No, because I don't like supporting the minis. I like using just pre-supported models. And I would rather trust that somebody who does that for a living knows how to do it better.
So Cesare asks how you're photographing your minis once they're painted.
Well, I can actually show you. Don't judge because it's really messy right now.
Oh my god!
An art studio messy?
But yeah,
everybody we've had on says the same thing. Don't judge; it's a mess. You should see my crap lying around all over the place.
So I have those 2 ring lights that shine right above I took a Chess X dice box and just sprayed it black so that way it matches with the black background.
Yeah.
And then I have some white styrofoam on the sides just to help bounce light back onto the model a little bit.
Cesare, you'd be so proud.
Yeah, these. That's a good point. You're.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Just lost Brian.
Is that why it got so quiet?
Yeah. So I
shut up, Jason. I did the same thing. I keep hitting the back button, thinking I'm in my other browser, and I fucking leave the studio. God damn.
And then I use my cell phone. I have a really nice camera that a friend of mine gave me that I've used once.
Isn't that amazing how our cell phones are so good at cameras?
Yeah.
Now? It's like the only thing I try to post on Instagram.
Shut up, 3 miles.
The only thing I post on Instagram is I like to take pictures of the battle cam setups that I do for the different tables that I run.
Yeah.
And then I share those with everyone just so, hey, tonight they're taking on this, or hey, this battle just finished, or this, and this. And I'm still amazed that it's just my phone, just my cell phone. I
haven't
can't
pulled
get
out
over
my
that.
DSLR in probably a year.
Yep, mine's been over a year. So the last time I used it, and the first time I used it was for a competition where I painted my blue dragon, and I was top 20 in the world in that one.
Nice.
Wow.
Or top 25.
Do we have the blue dragon on the feed?
We do.
Brian?
We do. I'm assuming this one is it.
No, go back. Yeah, that is, but that's a newer picture.
So cool.
That's not the right one. If you scroll down just under the chair, Nope, up a little bit, right next to the hyena. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So
Ooh.
those were all
that
taken.
cave printout looks familiar.
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 of those printed out.
Except
Yeah,
obviously you did texturing for
that
it.
shading
so-
on those scales is fantastic.
Yeah, look at that
Thanks.
black
Wow.
and dark underlay, and then look at the wing membrane. See,
Yeah.
to me, that's the crazy shit. There's like 20 different shades
Yeah.
on those wing membranes because of the way they actually look like skin, like you could touch them and crumple them. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because people who don't paint think that the details are the hardest, and that, in my opinion, is not true. What is hardest is painting a large, undetailed surface like that, like a cloak or a dragon's wing or something,
Yeah.
and getting the depth and texture in there. The details are easy. You're just painting on top of shapes, and they're going to take on their own lighting. But I mean, that's awesome.
What's it
And
like
how
for
long
you,
did
Andy?
that piece take you?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bear.
What was that?
How long did that piece take you?
So that one took me about 120, 125 hours.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
Why'd you rush it? Why'd you rush it?
The look on Barry's face.
Well, so it was for a competition. So I printed that out over Christmas of 2021, and the deadline was January 31st of 2022 that I had to submit photos for. So luckily I still got to keep the model. It sits on top of my display case and is one of my favorite things I've ever painted.
It's a gorgeous blue dragon. It's just amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It also helped that one of the judges for that competition was Steve, my friend, and he really likes blue dragons. So I was like, "Hey, I'm going to do a blue dragon. That might help my chances better."
A little bit of insider trading there.
Yeah. It didn't. I mean, they judged everything based off of paint jobs and not just it's a bright flashy model or bright flashy paint job on a cool looking model. So.
Now, how often do you get to play D&D right now? Like, how often are you playing with, like, being able to run tables, get your models on the table? How's that been going?
I play every other Sunday.
Awesome.
Hey, there you go.
I play every other Sunday. I DM every other Sunday.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So you guys have a rotating table?
No, so I DM my own group of people, and then I play with a different group of friends.
Gotcha.
Yeah, bribes do help a lot. So all of my friends that play at my table when I DM know that they're going to get cool looking models and cool looking minis and
They're
bosses,
so
and they are for sure. When I told some of my friends that I was getting this giant, massive Tiamat, they were like, "Yeah, I'm not playing at your table anymore." And I was like, "Why? You're fine."
Okay, well, so that's a good segue right there. Get that beast down. It's been taunting us up there.
No, it's been mostly taunting you. I've got my own right there. So,
Oh my
Jesus.
god!
This one's a little bigger than yours.
God.
all right.
Oh my gosh!
Here we go. We're gonna compare sizes because that's what men do.
I'm like trying to crane my head to look.
Oh, I should have brought up my Funko Pop Tiamat, which is actually what I've used on table before.
Oh my god, these things are so much fun.
Yeah.
The
That
colors,
is
though, Andy, the colors. My
unbelievable.
god, they just pop.
So this has all been airbrush work, and then I put oil washes on it.
Mm.
So I took oil paints and thinned it out with mineral spirits to get to where it will be the consistency. And Brian, you'll understand. You know what washes are.
Yep.
So it will washes all go into the surface or the recesses and help create depths and shadows. And so I thinned out an oils to put over everything, and then once the mineral spirits dry up a little bit and evaporate, and then the oils kind of sit and dry because it's thinned them out enough, you remove all of that from the highlights, and then you're left with these really nice dark shadows and undertones.
Yeah, that's an
So-
awesome way to get contrast.
Have you ever experimented with the Citadel wash? Those canned washes they sell?
I have 2 pots of Citadel's paint washes, and I don't like them because they leave a glossy texture on stuff.
I've heard that.
I am a big fan of Vallejo paints. My friend Juan will tell you that I'm actually a whore for Vallejo.
I was going to ask you what kind of paint you use, because I use both.
Yeah, so I use Vallejo. I was actually asked, there's a company out in Germany who is trying to start doing their own paints. They're very similar to Chimera paints, so they're very heavily pigmented. But they are very nice. Their company is Ultra Krill. They sent me a beta test. And I really, really like their paints. So
Sounds like you got a sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we definitely got to work on that logo and promos, man.
Right. But yeah, so I typically use Vallejo. It's the paint that I just started using and really liked it. I use a couple different Army Painter ones just because I like the product it'll produce. So for all of the bones stuff that I paint, I always base it in Army Painter's skeleton bone just because it's a really nice dark bone color.
That's funny. I find that I have like certain favorite colors of certain brands of paint that I always fall back to.
Yep. Well, Livery Green from Vallejo is one of my favorite greens.
Yeah.
It's just a very bright neon green. So without it actually being neon. So
right. What about minis? I obviously you print a lot of stuff, but in terms of buying minis, what are your favorites and not favorites of brands of minis?
So if I buy any, I will buy the WizKids ones just because they tend to be more tabletop sized correct. Where 3D printing ones are not, in my opinion, aren't the same accuracy. So I recently printed a Frost Giant from Loot Studios, and compared to the Nolzur's Frost Giant, it's like half the size. So it's kind of like, well, I have both. I can throw 2 Frost Giants at my players. I can always upscale things too, which I have done. I don't mind a lot of the Reaper stuff. I like their metal minis better than the bones. But it seems like they don't make the metal ones for a lot of the newer stuff now.
No, they've all switched over to plastic now.
Yeah, although their bones ones are okay. I don't like that they're so flexible.
Yeah.
But because the swords are never straight, everybody's carrying like an Arabian style scimitar all the time.
Yep.
That's true.
But, I really like their black line.
Yes, the Bones Black was yes. Those ones are a lot nicer. But yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna buy any minis that I'm not printing, it's typically the Nolzur's ones. So,
what's your opinion on Games Workshop?
I own one of their models. I've never painted it. I've primed it.
How many months' salary did you have to save up for it?
Well, that was actually being it's Abaddon. It's it's a higher expensive.
So what was that? $70?
I think he was like 50 or 60. Yeah, so, actually, that's a lie. I have like their Dark Elves minis. But that was because a friend of mine last year and we played in a Kill Team demo at Gen Con. Okay. And so you paid like $30 a ticket and you got to take home the minis. So
that's it was
pretty cool.
It was like, all right, that's cool.
I have a love-hate relationship with Games Workshop because
here comes the rant cam. Get it ready.
Rant cam. In my opinion, they make the absolute best miniatures out there.
Yes.
Period. What they charge for their stuff is sinful.
Yes.
It's horrific.
Really?
You know, the whole joke is that Warhammer 40K it's not the year, it's the price
the
point.
Cost. Yeah.
Yeah, it's how much it's going to cost you to play
Warhammer. I've got a ton of 40K stuff because I love that canon and that mythos from when I was a kid. And back then it was expensive. Now I won't even touch it. It's ridiculous, which is really a shame because, like I said, their miniatures are just absolutely fantastic.
Yep. I have a couple of their I have a couple of their Lord of the Rings set minis, but I never painted them. Mm-hmm. So I have the Witch King. Yeah, I have the Witch King, and I've always wanted to put it together and paint it, but there's no instructions on how to put it together.
Oh.
It was just the
arm goes here.
Yeah, it's just a picture, and it's like, this is how it goes together. And I was like, well, this is stupid. And then I bought like an actual Warhammer model, and it has in-depth detail on which number sprue goes where, and you need to do these and these and these. And I was like, well,
do you have a favorite glue that you like to use?
Whatever is cheapest at the store.
Exactly.
I always wonder about that because I've noticed that assembling resin prints is a lot harder than traditional PLA ABS prints or plastic models in general.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the way that resin prints could be more porous or if they're not cured properly or over cured. I don't know all of that background about resin, but I really struggled. I ended up having to pin a resin dragon that I purchased, and I ended up having to pin it. So
I use crazy glue.
That's what I use for my plastic.
Yeah, but you need one that's not liquid. This is a gel.
Actually, so I found that the gel works worse than the liquid.
Really?
Yeah, I've never had any issues with the liquid. The gel, I've always. Yeah, I think it just depends on where, because Midwest and West Coast are more humid than it is where I'm at. Yeah. It's a lot drier, so I don't know if the gel takes longer to dry here versus somewhere else. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Cesare brings up a point. For a while there, I was using liquid with a spray activator, but my younger fingers were a lot more nimble than my old man fingers. So I tend to screw those assemblies up now. And with that activator, there's no forgiveness. It's like, once that activator's on and you put those two pieces together, they're not coming apart unless you clip them. And
it also gets hot.
Yeah, you can get burned from it.
Yeah.
If you get it on your flesh,
I used to do that too, and I don't do that anymore.
I got burned from just straight super glue the other day. It hit my paper towel because it dripped out, and it got on my finger, and I thought I had a candle lit or something. Like, it straight up.
Well, I know you have gloves.
What kind of super glue are you using?
What's that?
What kind of super glue are you using?
I bought it
Flaming Hot Cheeto super glue.
Yeah, I bought it on the black market. It came from overseas. I don't know.
I have super glue for you. Don't worry. It's good. Don't worry. It's no problem.
It's best glue you could find.
Exactly.
Many horses went into this glue.
Yeah. So this was also, I know Sharon commented on this, so this is a model that I've been working on as well.
Oh man,
that's cool. Is that your Hydra?
Yeah.
Very cool.
But it's a Hydra on land? What?
Well, I mean, technically a Hydra is a multi-ecosystem creature.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love the saliva.
I really like the way the scales could almost pass as feathers near the head.
Yeah.
So the Magic the Gathering has a Omni Hydra card, and that's actually where I got the color scheme from.
Yeah.
But I used Uhu glue for the saliva.
Oh, interesting.
So this is the only gel glue that I use, also, by the way.
To create that tacky kind of.
Yep.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, so you just put it on a plate, and then you can use a toothpick to spool it up, and then just drag it and drop it to wherever you want.
Whoa!
Now, in my earlier Warhammer 40K fantasy days, when I was still thinking I could try to assemble and paint, before I completely gave up, I love to use epoxy for sculpts. That was the one thing I did kind of enjoy doing, because excuse me, it allowed me to like use a lot of extra parts and spare sprues, and I was having a lot of fun with that. You know, it was a lot of fun to do that. I still didn't like painting it, so I'd hand it off to somebody else to paint.
Yeah. Well, so I was using it to try to figure out, because watching Legend of Vox Machina and seeing Umbrasyl with the constant drooling of acid,
Yeah.
I want to do that on the Black Dragon head on Tiamat,
Yeah.
because I think that would be really cool, fun effect to make, and Black Dragons are my favorite. I've painted like 8 of them. So,
has any of your models inspired like a quest or an arc or a sub arc within one of your games?
So the Baylord did when I did the Hyena Dragon. Like I said, my group was kind of giving me a hard time because they're like, "Oh, the encounters are way too easy." There was 8 of them.
Oh my gosh!
And you know, at high levels, they get a lot of different things, and I wasn't throwing hard enough monsters at them, so they were 12th level or 11th level. And my buddy was like, he was joking, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll throw something at you. And I had put 3 of the 8 people in death saves that night off of that, and they're like, okay, let's just pump the brakes here. So, yeah.
Well, and that's one of my favorite new lores with the levels of hell is I use Legion all the time. Right.
Yeah.
To me, like the lore of Legion is just such a fun playground to like pull in those like difficult opportunities, you know, and create these unique like environments for the players to stumble into. So part of my collection's a little heavy on the devil demon kind of side of the collection because of that, but I find it's very highly used as well.
Absolutely. That's where I was for a year and a half. That was all I was printing and painting was demons and devils, because I was like, and luckily all of the companies I backed that's what they were putting out at the time. So it's like, yeah, bring them. I'll take them. I'll take all of them. I
was super excited when Tyranny of Dragons came out, the brick set for that, because I mean, as much as like if you're a newer DM and you're looking for an affordable approach to collecting minis to have both use on the tabletop as well as some aesthetic to get you started, believe it or not, those brick systems were really good because you got one big one and 3 little ones for like $15.
Yep.
I mean, that's an amazing price point when you really think about it.
Absolutely. I totally didn't buy 2 bricks for my Avernus campaign. I did not buy 2 more bricks of Rime of the Frost Maiden when that module came out.
Is this the case where your significant other is watching?
No, I am single, so we are good.
Oh, there you go. Then
I don't have to worry about that.
You did get your bricks.
If I was single, I would be living in a box from one of these Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which, by the way, I've backed a lot of Simon's games, especially just for the minis. You know, you buy a game and you get 100 minis, all kind of themed. It's fantastic.
Well, so question. Have you ever had an opportunity to paint a Zombicide set?
I own every expansion, and I have yet to paint any of those models.
Yeah, I love those models. They're gorgeous.
They're awesome.
They really are nice.
Actually, that's not true. I have painted a few of those. Hold on. I did paint up a few of them.
I have a friend who just got the Kickstarter for the Marvel Zombies one. Expansion, and he's like, hey, do you want to paint these? I was like, yeah, but you're not getting them back, so careful if you want me to paint them. Those are awesome.
These are like my go-to, you know, skeletons and zombies.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what's so interesting. Like if you wanted to build a decent collection of undead to use in a tabletop, just go out and buy the 1 box set from Zombicide, like the beginning set.
Yeah.
There's like 50 minis in there.
In fact, a lot of these are all from Zombicide.
Yeah, so it's like it's one of the things that I love about how the genre of gaming is both board gaming and tabletop gaming now. There's such a variety of way people can acquire minis.
Yep.
That it's interesting to me to see how I started in the day of Grenadier and Raupartha, and
Right.
that's all we had. These big, heavy pewter minis that if you breathed on them wrong, they bent or melted.
Mhm.
They were like, I left a batch of Grenadiers in a couple boxes in the back of my trunk one time out in the desert. I got home, they were all flat. They'd all just gone flat because it was 115 degrees outside, which meant it was 150 degrees in the trunk.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everything just melted. And I didn't know
That's
that could
hilarious.
happen. And then I learned a very valuable lesson after that.
Yeah, those games. You're right. Those games they're awesome for like a mob.
I'm glad you forgot your R, because you breath just sets that sentence out there for me, Chaz.
Actually,
I'll remember that in 2 weeks in Debtor's Gambit, Cesare. I'll remember that in 2 weeks. It's all good.
The D&D board games are also a great one to have.
They are.
Yeah.
Just get a
Temple
whole
of
bunch
Elemental
minis.
Evil. I was surprised. My buddy Brendan brought a couple of his Magic the Gathering board games in one time. Like, they have models in them. And I'm just like, holy crap, everybody's printing models now in all these different games. It's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Sharon, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was actually gonna show you a giant mini that.
Yeah. Do it. Do you still have that image?
I dropped it in the Discord. You're gonna freak out.
Hold on. Oh, yes.
This thing was so cool when she found this. And we were like, I think we talked about it. And then eventually Barry found it. Like, we were talking about all the different ways people print and build models. And then Barry went out there and she's like, I found it, guys. I found it. And it's just a gorgeous model. It makes me wonder if this is something you'd ever want to try to tackle at some point.
Oh, man.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'm
So
working on it.
I broke a Facebook page with posting pictures of Tiamat because people thought it was in my garage. And I was like, no. Like, there's bottles of paint behind it. Like, those are not just like life-size bottles
jars,
of paint. Yeah. But yeah, it exploded on that page. It was insane. So it was cool.
Tiamat's a toddler. Like, she's
massive.
She's a big girl.
Yeah.
There it is.
Look at
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Have you ever thought about tackling something like that?
No.
I mean, I don't even know. Like, clearly, that is probably 24-piece print.
Oh, at least,
if not higher.
Yeah.
But I'm in awe when I see something like that. It's
awesome.
It's just gorgeous. Just the way someone tackled that is just so amazing to me.
It would be really, really cool. I do say no, but then I have this, right? So, but yeah, so I mean, it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be something that I would do once if I ever did it. I do subscribe to Loot Studios. If you guys know any of their models, they do a lot of statue-sized print files as well. So there's been a couple that I'm like, ooh, that would be really fun to paint in a statue. Specifically, their Black Rider that I also painted their 75mm version of.
Really?
Which I know you loved that one. That was the one with the green.
Oh yeah, that
horse.
That's like
yeah,
one of my favorites.
Is that on your feed?
It is. Yeah. The second post.
That one right there.
Yeah.
I got all excited.
That one's gorgeous.
So they have a
staff. Oh my god,
that's some pretty good.
To me, that feels like Mira's staff. There's just the presence of it.
That's some pretty awesome OSL work right there.
Yeah,
nice.
I was just about to say.
Occasionally, I get really good at it. I get a really good version that happens to print out, or does what I want it to do, and I don't have to spend 5 hours.
What's your print failure rate right now, do you think?
A knock on wood, 0.
Isn't that amazing? Like, when I got my Flash Forge printer, I was terrified I was going to fuck it up, do everything wrong, get frustrated with it, because you hear all these horror stories from other people using things. I leveled the bed, did my very first test print, and it came out perfectly fine. It was an idiot-proof machine, and I'm proof that it's an idiot-proof machine.
Well, then I must be an idiot, because after my test print, which turned out great, I can't get anything to print on my end.
Are you serious? I'll tell you this. One thing I realized with my printing abilities was because I'm not an engineer by trade, right? So I don't have an engineer's mind. Like, I'm very jealous of engineer type people that look at things and break them down so well so that when they reassemble it in their mind, they avoid all the problems that a lot of us more creatives run into because we don't look at things that way. So what I decided to do was look at how they viewed the printer environment. And I told myself, I'm going to take their advice, and then I'm going to take that advice and start with my beginner printer. And I went with the Flash Forge because it was an all self-contained, pre-assembled unit. And I figured, you know what? The less I have to touch it, the less likely I'm going to break it, right? Yep. So it came in a large box. All I had to do was level the plate, insert the filament, and learn some of the basics. I was printing that night all night long and having a blast. And I feel like if we approach things that way, we might be better off, yep. Right? Like know our limits before we tackle it. It's kind of like my relationship with painting. I don't have one with it. And rather than frustrate myself, I would rather be surrounded by people that love to do it and give them minis to paint, because they love to paint, yep. It's the love of it that I just don't have for it.
That's why I bought an EPAX printer too, is because out of the box, it's pre-leveled. You load your USB, put it in, hit print, make sure there's resin in it, and it's good to go.
Really?
So, yeah.
What are those chemical costs like for resin? Is it worth it? Like, have you ever broke down what you think it costs you to print?
No.
Is that out of fear or just because you just don't care?
I don't want to know how much money I am actively spending on it.
Thank you. I love that kind of honesty. Yeah. I'm kind of to say I'm a little different in the sense that I like to print affordable scatter terrain for people that are trying to get into playing D&D and other tabletop games.
Yeah.
So I'm purposely scaling the resale of my prints to help people who enjoy painting and gaming not have to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
So I figured out that number and the hours and the cost, relative cost and stuff like that, because I want to help people find affordable solutions for their tabletop. I don't want to be I don't want to be Wormwood. I don't want to be Warhammer. I don't want to be Games Workshop, that they're at this tier of creating cults. Like, yep. I don't want to be in that world because it's a nutty world. Sometimes people just want to play to have fun.
Yep.
But
a lot of the times, like, I know that I charge a lot more than I probably should, but it's mostly when a company comes and asks me to paint for them. If it's somebody like my DM that had got me, he's one of the people who got me and told me, he's like, well, now you got unpainted minis, you should learn how to paint them. And I was like, all right, cool, fine, I'll do it. He's the one who got me into playing D&D 4 years ago, and I love it. It's one of the greatest things he ever did. And I'll print stuff and I just leave it at his house, and he's like, you left this here? And I'm like, yeah, it's for you. And he's like, well, no, let me pay you for it. I'm like, no. Or he's running us through Tomb of Annihilation right now. And so he's bought some of the Gale Force 9 minis. And he's like, I'll pay you to paint these. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to charge you $40 for a big monster because I get to paint something cool.
Gale Force 9 terrain I've always been a fan of their terrain. I've always found it affordable. Some of their pre-painted terrain is aesthetically pleasing.
I didn't know they made terrain.
It's insane. If you actually go to their website and go deep into their catalog, they pretty much, I got attracted to them because they built really cool stands. I really liked the fly stands and that they were producing at the time. And they were relatively affordable too.
Andy, friends is one thing, but when you have commissions, never discount the value of your talent.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Not just the time that you spend painting, It's the fact that you can do something that not a lot of people can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Very
I know that I do charge. I definitely charge significantly more than I probably should, and that's probably why I don't get as many commissions.
No.
I
But-
I would argue that. I don't know what you charge, but I can already say I would argue that.
It's
Well,
worth
so
it.
for-
Okay, give us an example.
So for that blue dragon, I had taken it to a fair that a friend of mine put on at one of the local breweries, and a guy was like, "I'll give you $50 for it," and I was like, "You can give me $2,000 for it." And he's
Okay.
like, but why? And I was like, because it took me X amount of hours to print it. It took
Yep.
me X amount of hours to paint it. Like, this is also one of the highest level paint jobs that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, I can reprint it and paint it for you at a cheaper paint job for, less, and it's not going to look as good.
So, like, what would you charge for this guy?
$60, $50.
That's about right.
So-
Yeah.
But that is a 75 millimeter sized
Mhm.
model, so it's not an actual,
Playable
PC
model.
mini. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
it's
don't think
bigger.
those
but-
prices are they're where they should.
Well, and
be.
I think, I've been taught a lot of valuable lessons about, the effort we put into things.
Mhm.
Recently, me and my partner, we've been going and expanding our relationship with the fair community, different fairs that we go to. And, people have given me some positive feedback. And the one conversation I had is there's enough people in the world that for every 100 that say no, you're going to find one that's going to say yes, and in our creative spaces, whether, it's Brian's approach to graphic design, my professional running of tables, your painting of minis, Barry is kind of dabbling in like the social marketing aspect and learning a lot about that. I think when we become to self-realize the amount of hours that we're putting into things, those hours have value, and they have, they should have a cost associated to them, because that is what establishes the idea of our brand. And if we believe in our brand, it feels like we should be okay about setting our prices the way that we set them, So yeah, I would definitely say that, but I will use the Matt Mercer approach to monetizing your hobby. If it becomes work and it's no longer fun, should you still do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a healthy question that we should all ask ourselves when we start delving into that kind of approach to monetizing our hobbies to a certain degree. How's that journey been for you?
Well, there's a reason I don't do commissions anymore. So
You were falling out of love with it, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was also more of the fact of like, I was painting something that wasn't going to stay in my place.
Mm.
So, and yeah, I do really enjoy painting for other people. Because then I know that they're getting, especially when I get a picture from a client or a customer and they show me they put a Tiamat on their table because they were finishing Tyranny of Dragons and they needed a Tiamat model, and they're like, "Hey, check this out." It's like, yeah, that looks really cool. Like, that's awesome, So
Right.
that part I do like.
I love that honesty about the commission work, though. I love that because I think it's important when people out there watch us talk about this stuff, that sure, we enjoy doing what we do, but if you're going to do something that becomes not fun anymore, then don't do it. I mean, It's okay sometimes just to take a mental break and say to yourself, this isn't fun, take that break. I love that. I love that kind of discovery. Congratulations on that, because that's hard. For me, people are like, wow, Jason, you run so many tables. Aren't you worried that it's like work? So, well, to be clear, the funnest part of my reality is playing the game. So I'm professionally paid to have the most fun possible.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm fine. I haven't reached that point yet, and I don't believe I will, because I love this game so much. Would I love to run a Cthulhu game? Probably. I'd love to run a couple other stylistic differences of games that aren't necessarily D&D, but my passion keeps me going when it comes to the whole D&D approach, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, and I the other thing with doing the commissions, so I was painting for a friend in for his Etsy page,
Mm.
and it was mostly Tiamats was what I was getting paid to paint. And I love painting this Tiamat model, but it was also the fact of like, okay, cool, I'm painting another Tiamat this month.
Yeah, yeah.
Painting 4 of them this month. Like I need to break it up a little bit. So
Do you have a favorite theme of mini to paint, like dragons or undead or?
there's a reason my name is Dragon Painter.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to confirm that.
I do really love painting dragons, and if you do scroll through my Instagram, there's not a whole lot of dragons on there.
Right.
That is changing this year. I plan on painting significantly more dragons than I have.
Oh, you were being serious that there's not a lot of dragons?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. Oh, there's like 5 or 6. So that was the first Tiamat that I painted.
That purple worm is gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah, I
worm.
really love that one.
I no longer have that. A friend of mine that I met with convinced me in 2021 to go to Gen Con in Indianapolis and bring a bunch of my models with me to show. He made battle mats.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had a booth, and I brought a whole bunch of minis and sold a whole bunch. That was the first mini to go.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm not surprised. It's a popular monster in the lore. It's very popular.
Yeah, so
I'm looking for more dragons.
So there's one.
Oh,
I don't have that one anymore.
And dragons are super popular. And what's interesting is,
okay, that's awesome.
Well, what's interesting is that's also the demon from the idol as well. So the sitting idol, and I have that one that someone painted for me. I have it sitting on a shelf over there somewhere. But I don't know. It's like out of all my tables, I've only had them run into a dragon like maybe once or twice, because I still love the rarity of a dragon in a game. Like I love that, like, the Friday night game, they've been meeting for a year and a half in 2 different campaigns, and they finally fought a red dragon, an adult red dragon 2 weeks ago. And
I have that guy right here.
That looks so cool.
I pulled him out because I was like, oh, this one's gonna get shown off.
Yeah, that one's pretty. Yeah, that one's once again the lava, man. I just love the lava.
Thanks.
So cool.
That is
so cool.
Awesome.
And I know you talked about some of your earlier inspirations. Do you get inspired by others aesthetically? Like some of your stuff has a Todd McFarlane vibe for me. Like some of the stuff that you've got has that vibe.
So I am a big fan of Todd McFarlane.
Okay.
I may or may not own every single Kiss action figure that he put out in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Like Kiss, your Deadpool had a very Todd McFarlane vibe. I mean,
Deadpool is my favorite anti-hero, favorite Marvel character. When you guys were talking about all the superheroes, that was one that like I was getting ready to say, what about Deadpool? And then somebody else put it. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, so I grew up, getting the McFarlane magazine. And I definitely like that kind of darker look to things. Not necessarily full grimdark, but just
shadowy, darker, like just kind of.
Yeah,
I mean, like on the edge of possibly doing bad, but still trying to do good.
Yeah, and like Spawn was one of the first comic books I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I've always had a drawn towards that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And then I go and paint something like that where it's every bright color I own,
right?
And it's not something that I would normally paint, but it was like I saw that model and I was like, I have to paint that because it's
a pretty model. Is that one you cool. Is that one you printed or bought?
I printed that.
That's amazing. It's Mira.
It's kind of where Mira might be at the end of the event. Yeah.
She actually the arms, the glue points that they had for that were in the shoulders on the arms, and the keys were so small. I have broke her more times than I can count, and so she now no longer has both arms.
Yeah.
I
I've
can't get it to
noticed-
glue back together. So
Yeah, I've noticed that about certain models or prints that I see on Etsy.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten a lot better at looking what they're offering and focus in on the assembly difficulties because they don't come assembled. You got to build them, and I'm not very good at that. So I've been very, very sensitive to that when I see it. That's a beautiful model.
Thanks.
It's funny because I struggle with that too. I use all the minis that I paint on the table, and I can't tell you, like, I've got some, that I just love the way they turned out, and then oops, the staff snapped off or the horn snapped. I'm like, fuck. So I'm always torn, like, you paint it and it turns out so well, and you're like, well, now I don't want to use it because it's going to get beat up.
Yep. I have a rule at my table. When I put down a big model, my players are not allowed to touch it, and I'm the only one that gets to move it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm usually the one breaking my.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, because I don't care if I break it. Like, that's on me. But if a player breaks it, then it's like, oh man, they feel terrible. I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel bad about it. I'd rather just be like, crap, I broke my own model. Now I got to fix it.
Yeah.
So, and luckily I play at my place, so I have a bottle of super glue real easily available.
Same.
At all times. It's right behind my DM screen.
Like a utility belt or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Paint, super
I got the blue tack right behind the screen as well, just in case. So.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we did it again. Somehow we killed over an hour.
I know.
How's that happen?
I don't know.
Flies by.
I mean, like you said, this is a gold mine. We could talk about minis for a week straight.
Yeah, we could. We could for sure.
Okay, then part 2, everyone. So tune in.
Well, actually, what would be a fun subject?
You let me know.
I think what would be a really fun subject to tackle is the idea of 3D printers and the journey, learning them, the differences between the different types. I think that would be a lot of fun to potentially have a conversation about in the future. Definitely.
Absolutely. We'll have you back. You're now friend of the show.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna send you one of my Black Dragon T-shirts also.
Okay.
So we'll hook up after the show on DM. So
yeah, definitely.
Sharon, you want to wrap us up here?
Wait, shouldn't we do rollies?
No, let's let you. I'm going to defer to you.
I'm deferring to you to let it.
Yeah, Dragon Painter was so. First of all, thank you, Sharon, for procuring Andy to come on the show for us. So I think you get the honors of rollies, winning rollies tonight.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Lawfully Chaotic Special Edition with Andy Warnken. Woo! Dragon Painter 468. You can catch him over on Instagram. And where else can we find you?
I'm on Discord. It's the same name. You can find me on TikTok. I got 2 whole videos, so
Start.
That's another work in progress. It's just it takes so long to take pictures and then post it on Instagram. Plus, then I need to make a reel to post it on TikTok. So, yeah. I mostly am active the most on Instagram, though. I'm not the biggest fan of social media. So, but
cool.
But yeah, anybody who contacts me and wants to has questions about painting, and feel free to shoot me messages. I will.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend following Andy over on Instagram. The pictures are gorgeous.
Yeah,
if you're looking for inspiration, I think if you're looking to spark up a conversation about that inspiration, Instagram by far is your best showcase that I've seen so far. It's pretty amazing.
Thanks.
I agree.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us, Andy. And Jason, where can we find you?
Oh, I was about to point at you, Bear. You can find me over at the Twitch space. All my socials are over there. Join us on our Discord. We have almost 400 members on our Discord. So that community is always trying to grow and help each other play. You can find me. You can still find me in the Twitter space where I try to not become, lost in the miasma of the weirdness of that space. But Instagram is where I like to showcase the campaigns. Twitch is where we play some of those campaigns live, and I'll let Barry I'm gonna do this really well. Oh man, we got to point at Brian. Okay, point at Brian.
Not so fast.
Where can we find you, Brian?
RPG&Co.com on Instagram is the best place to find me. You can always shoot me a DM. I love to just shoot shit about anything. Also Linktree/RPG&Co, and the website is PlayRPG&Co. And yeah, Andy, you have inspired me to start painting again. I have not picked up my brushes in a couple months because I've been super busy, but you have inspired me.
And
Thanks.
Barry, where can we find you?
Hey guys, so you can find me over on Instagram at BarryBot and at TikTok and all the other interwebs that's out there. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us for another episode of Lawfully Chaotic. And remember, TPK, tell a story, play a game, and be kind. See you all
Good
next
night,
week.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.